back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. First topic we'll be going over is the Wilson Contreras injury for the St. Louis Cardinals and how it will affect them. After that, we'll be going over the Cubs getting Cody Bellinger and soon Seiya Suzuki back and the impact that'll have on their team. Then we'll be talking about the Yankees and Astros game, how high scoring it was, and just the impacts short and long term it will have on both teams. And finally, going over my personal ranking of how how interesting each division race is. Saw this article on LB.com, and I thought it was a pretty good topic, and I wanted to go over it. So yeah, before we do all that, I would like to ask you, though, to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure this question does get read on the air, please use the link, gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show today. All right, so first topic we'll be covering is, as I went over, Wilson Contreras, the starting, I'd say, superstar catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. Superstar's probably going a little far. I'd say star catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals is going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured arm. And this was news that happened last night during the Mets game when Mets DH JD Martinez accidentally swung his bat right into Contreras' arm. I was watching the game. It was really rough. It was not a pretty sight to see. You know, JD Martinez said he couldn't feel it, so just a really unfortunate situation altogether, to be perfectly honest. Obviously not something Martinez is looking to do, not something with malicious intent. It's just kind of a freak accident that happened. So I think the impact for this Cardinals team that this injury will have is honestly pretty huge. The thing about the Cardinals has been these last few years, how good their hitting core is. I even mentioned at the start of the season, my shows leading up to the season, how much that, even though I didn't like this Cardinals team going into the year, I didn't think they would be very good. I didn't think they would make the playoffs. The offensive core was still really, really good. And honestly, it hasn't been. And that's been one of the biggest shockers for me this entire season. You look at their hitting stats right now, you look at the players who have gotten the most amount of plate appearance for them. First of all, you look at the guy who has gotten the most, which is Brendan Donovan. He's done pretty mediocre, 96 WRC plus, well below average. This is a guy that usually is a really quality, solid, consistent hitter for the Cardinals, and he's just not hitting. He's also a guy that can move around a lot and is very valuable for the Cardinals. As you can see, does have the most at-bats on the team. Plate appearances, actually, not at-bats. So I think that, if he's not hitting that well, that's another thing. Then you go to Nolan Arenado, who actually has brought it up these past few weeks. Started off really poorly, but does have a 116 now. So obviously he's doing really well, has 1.2 WAR, doing very good. But then third on the list is the one where it really gets tough. Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt has a 65 WRC plus this season. If you don't know, WRC plus is the hitting stat I do like to use. It's weighted runs created plus. It is just an all-encompassing hitting stat that I personally think is the best. 100 is league average, so it's very simple in that way. So if you're under 100, you're under league average. If you're above 100, you're above league average, obviously. So a 65 is obviously not good, not where you want to be, especially for a player like Paul Goldschmidt. And it's not even that he just has the 65. He's looked like it. You look at his at-bats yesterday in the Mets game, he looked pretty bad. He struck out on a pitch that was almost 5 feet out of the zone from Adam Ottavino. So I think Goldschmidt being this bad so far with the Cardinals, performing this bad and just underperforming by this much, I think that it is having a huge effect on what the Cardinals are doing right now. I think it's having a huge effect on their offense, and it's just not something anyone was hoping to see going into the season, and anything that we were expecting. I mean, Goldschmidt has been one of the most consistent hitters the entire year. Not the entire year, his entire career really. Has been a really great player since coming over to St. Louis, and having one of your better veteran hitters, a guy who you look at as a potential face of that franchise, doing this bad is something that I don't think anyone saw happening. So I think that's been a big effect on their offense as well. I was a proponent of, obviously I didn't have the show at this time, but just being a baseball fan, I was a big proponent of trading Goldschmidt at last year's deadline. I thought it made a lot of sense for the Cardinals. Goldschmidt at this point now has 1 year left in his contract. At the other point had a year and a half left, was doing really, really well, was older, but was still hitting well, as I said, and the Cardinals had so much young, offensive, good players that still needed a set position. I think trading him would have made a lot of sense. I think a lot of teams would have vied for his services. I think the Cardinals could have gotten a lot of players back and good prospects back. put Jordan Walker there at first base, give him a set position for a long time. He doesn't play defense well, but he hits. Now Jordan Walker's in AAA, obviously, so it didn't really work out. But still, I think trading Goldschmidt would have been a good decision. And not to say that I was predicting this massive fall-up by Goldschmidt, but I think regression was obvious when you look at his age, when you look only 1 year on his contract left. And I think not trading at the deadline last year was a big miss, and it is affecting them this year so far. So you look at Goldschmidt right now, how awful he's doing. Could this be the end of his career? We'll have to see. But this isn't a segment about Goldschmidt, but I did want to just give that little anecdote there. I thought it was just really interesting how he's done this season, how poor he's done, and just how unfortunate his season has gone so far. I mean, fourth on the list for plate appearances for the Cardinals, we have, of course, the guy. This segment is based on Wilson Contreras. Now, Contreras being out for 6 to 8 months would always be huge. Always losing your starting catcher is significantly worse than other positions because it's the guy that talks to all the pitchers, knows what they want, knows how to catch the ball, knows how to work with them, and losing that guy who catches every day is very unfortunate. You look at his hitting stats as well. He's been one of the best hitters in baseball this season. I apologize about that. If you watch the show, you know that happens at least once every show. Just unfortunate, and just does. For Contreras, a 171 weighted runs created plus, really, really good. Obviously, 71% above average, basically, doing incredibly well. Has 10.8 offensive value so far from Fangraphs, and his stats prove it as well. It's not like he's getting extraordinarily lucky. His BABIP is a little high, so I think potentially there could be some regression there. But overall, I think he's having an amazing season. Of course, I didn't think he was in for that much regression. And when you're a Cardinals team who has struggled this much in the batting area, in the offensive area where what you're known for, this Cardinals team is known for offense. It's known for his offensive core. It's known for how many good young players are on this team. When you're struggling this much, and you have Contreras, who's been doing really well, one of the only guys really living up to his standard and his name and how good he's done in the past, getting hurt and being out for 6 to 8 months, 6 to 8 weeks, not months. That's just really, really unfortunate, and that's just something that really does kill a team. I think the Cardinals are not going to do well this season. I think this really puts the dagger in them, and I could see them finishing last in that NL Central, to be honest. The Cubs, Reds, and Brewers have all done really well this season. The Pirates have done not bad, and if the Cardinals finish last again, I would not be surprised. So I think that losing Contreras is a really big impact on the Cardinals and something that is just really, really unfortunate for them. Going down this list as well, you have Nolan Gorman, who's been horrible this season as well. Lars Nootbaar, who's underperformed a lot. Alec Burleson, who's just been okay. Jordan Walker got sent down to AAA. Victor Scott, whose weighted runs created plus is in the negative. Brandon Crawford, who's been mediocre. So there's just so much mediocre talent on this team right now. So many players underperforming that it's looking real bad. And when you lose the one player who has been doing really well, living up to his contract, living up to his pedigree, losing him for this amount of time really does hurt, and I think could be the kill shot for this team. I think they could look to be sellers at the deadline, and I'm watching some of these players see if they do move them. Now, the thing about the Cardinals that's so interesting has been, as I said, the last few years, it hasn't been the hitting. It's been the pitching, and really it still is the pitching. But the fact that your real one strong suit, the hitting, and how much young hitters that are really, really good on your team is underperforming, it's kind of crazy. And you now have your pitching kind of being better than your hitting, which nobody expected this year. You signed some guys in the offseason, some worked out, some didn't. And you look at this pitching right now, you look at the guys with a significant amount of games started. First of all, you have Miles Michaelis, who has been horrible in ERA, almost at above 6 here, doing horrible. I don't know why he's still on a major league roster, still on this team. I don't know why they gave him that extension a few years ago. He's been so bad. Lance Lynn, who I criticized signing at the time, has not been bad, honestly. His ERA is 3.28. It looks like he's going to regress a little bit with the peripheral stats and the underlying stats, but I don't think it'll be that bad, and I still think he should finish as a decent guy, a guy who eats innings pretty well, so I'm honestly not mad about that signing. I was a little bit before. I thought it was a bad move, but hey, he hasn't been that horrible, so there's a lot worse players you could have in your team than Lance Lynn. Kyle Gibson, he's also not been bad, a 3.68 ERA, but again, looking for some regression there, but like Lance Lynn, shouldn't be that huge. You have Steven Matz as well. Matz has a 6.19 ERA, and man, he has been a disaster with a capital D since coming to St. Louis. I mean, man, has this guy been really, really bad. I don't know what else to say without sounding mean. Just, man, he has been really, really bad. This contract's just been a disaster. I don't know what the Cardinals were thinking signing him. I don't know why Steve Cohen and the Mets got all in arms that they weren't able to sign Matz with how horrible he's been. I don't think there was really any way of him being a significant player for this team, so I don't know why people got mad or why he had so many people trying to line up to sign him. I mean, after this as well, you have Sonny Gray for the Cardinals, who's been extraordinary, an ERA under 1 in the 5 starts he's had for St. Louis. This really has been the guy that they've been missing for a long time, I believe. A true ace like Gray, finished high in Cy Young voting last year. I would say is one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball. Could even go a little higher if you want. I wouldn't be mad about that. So I think that overall, the issue this year for the Cardinals isn't the pitching, which is crazy. It's the underperformance with the hitting core. How many players that are so good that are just not performing to their standards, and losing your guy in Willson Contreras, who's been one of the best hitters in baseball, who's done really, really well. Losing him for this amount of time when your team is struggling like this is really, really tough. And it's not looking so good for the Cardinals right now. The outlook for them is not good, especially in this NL Central where you have teams that I'd say at least 3 teams that are better, maybe even 4. You have the Cubs, who I'd say are definitely better. The Brewers, who are definitely better. They've surprised me, but they've been definitely better this year, and I think they've proven it. The Reds are definitely better, I'd say. I think those 3 teams, again, are all definitely better, and I think are better by a good margin. Also, the Pirates could be better. We'll have to see how they progress with their young team and their young core, but it's not looking good for the Cardinals right now. This team does not really have that great of a future. If I'm them, I'm blowing it up. I'm trying to see what I can get for these older guys. Also, some of these younger hitter guys that don't have a place on this team. I think one thing that should be interesting, though, with Contreras being out is Ivan Herrera. He's been a top prospect in the Cardinals organization for a little while, but has always been blocked. He was blocked with Yadier Molina when the Cardinals refused to get rid of him, even though he's old and regressing. He got blocked when they signed Willson Contreras to be their starting catcher for 5 years. So Ivan Herrera is now going to get a good amount of playing time at the catcher position. Is going to be getting a good amount of at-bats there. So it'll be interesting to see if he does take this job and run with it. If he does prove to the Cardinals that he can be an everyday player, and if that does happen, I'm interested to see if they do trade him for some pitching, like I said they could before with their hitting core, or trade him for something else. If they would trade Contreras or move Contreras to a different position, move Herrera to a different position, or they would just keep the 2 guys platooning as, catcher. You do get a good amount of off days because there's so much physical pressure there. So that should be something that's really interesting as well to me. But yeah, really unfortunate situation last night for the Cardinals, losing Contreras for this amount of time, losing him to a pretty significant injury as well in a fractured arm. So just a really freak injury and something that should not have happened. But, it's baseball and these guys are professional athletes. These things happen. There's nothing really else to say here. So, yeah, just an unfortunate thing. But here's my segment on it, and here's my segment on the Cardinals and just the effect it's going to have. So, yeah. We'll be moving into our second segment here now, which is going to be talking about the Cubs. They're getting some reinforcements back from the injured list. Seiya Suzuki, Cody Bellinger, guys that are big parts of this team and guys that really help them out. Suzuki, you're getting back sooner. Suzuki, you're getting back later, I should say. Bellinger came off recently. So, yeah, we talk about the Cubs and just the guys that are getting back, and we'll see you after the break. So, thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to talk about the Cubs' reinforcements and getting some of their guys back from the injured list. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into our show. So, all right, we're doing our second segment here, which is going to be talking about the Cubs and the reinforcements that are going to get back from the injured list. So there we go. There you go, the lights again on cue. So with the Cubs, they are going to be getting their superstar center fielder back. I should say center fielder, quote unquote. You'll see why soon. With Cody Bellinger. Bellinger won on the injured list a few weeks ago. Just came off now and was in the Cubs starting lineup last night as the starting DH. Now, it's very interesting to me that Bellinger was in the lineup but didn't start in center field. Obviously, it probably has to do a part with him nursing that injury. They don't want him to get so much pressure on that body after he just came back from the injured list. They want to, keep him ripe a little bit, quote unquote. Keep him doing well and keep him in his best shape. But at the same time, what's really interesting to me is Pico Armstrong started in center field. Now, I talked about this dating way back to my segments about the Boris 4 in the offseason when these guys didn't fly in, and how I thought Bellinger to the Cubs made the most sense logistically, but baseball-wise it didn't. And why? Because of Pico Armstrong. Now, I think Pico Armstrong is going to be a really, really solid player in this league. I think he's going to be really, really good. The problem with him is he's kind of like Bellinger. I think Bellinger is going to be a better hitter and is a better hitter than Pico Armstrong ever will be. But in the way of that, most of, if not all of their value comes from defense. Crow Armstrong is a slick fielding center fielder with speed, and so is Bellinger. So the thing about Bellinger is, he can play first base, he can play not third base, he can play left field, he can play right field. But the thing is, if you put him, let's say, at first base, which was a position of need for the Cubs in the offseason before they filled it with Michael Busch, you're losing a lot of his value because you're losing that defense he has in center field. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to put him there. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see going forward with the Cubs and Pico Armstrong. Now, Crow Armstrong has not hit yet at the major leagues, still has an OPS under 600, so obviously will probably be sent down once Bellinger is fully back and can be able to play the field again. But I do think it's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch and something I'm keeping my eyes on as the season does go on. Now, getting Bellinger back, though, how much does that affect the Cubs? Well, I'd say it helps them a lot. You look at Bellinger's season right now, his bats really started to heat up before he went on the injured list, had a WRC plus of 125. He had good offensive value. His WAR was .4. He was doing a really good job. Of course, was doing a good job in the outfield as well with that defense. So overall, I think that Cody Bellinger has done a really, really good job, being as a Cub this year. And I think a lot of players would have been kind of mad about what happened in the offseason with, your contract, your Bellinger. You're thinking, I battled through a lot with the Dodgers. I won an MVP. I was down in the deepest parts of my baseball career, not knowing if I'd have a contract. I signed with the Cubs, kind of my last leg for my career. Did really, really good there, and I'm hoping to cash in. And instead, he gets a 3-year deal with an opt-out after one, so basically it's a 1-year deal. And I think a lot of players would have been mad. A lot of players would have took that personally, but for what I can tell, Bellinger looks like he's fine. I mean, he looks like he loves it in Chicago. Looks like he's doing a great job adjusting to his reality that, they didn't believe in me again, but I got to prove them wrong. So he's done a really good job this season, and he's been just a really good player. So props to him. Again, really impressive how he's done this year for the Cubs. He's been one of their better hitters, and I think getting him back really stabilizes this lineup again, adds a presence to your lineup that you didn't have before when he was out. And when you're in such a close division race, I'm going to talk about it later in my fourth segment, but you're in with teams like the Pirates, who probably aren't better than you, but are still in this division race somewhat, with teams, more like, I meant to say, the Brewers and the Reds. When you're with teams like those fighting for the division lead, you need every reinforcement you can get. So I think getting Bellinger off this injured list, getting him back, is a really big deal for the Cubs and really does help this team. I think, again, it helps this offense a lot, and it's a really good sign. So excited to watch him back with Chicago. Excited to watch this offense again fully healthy. And to get fully healthy, you need to get one more man back, and that's what I'm talking about next, Seiya Suzuki. Now, Suzuki won on the injured list a few weeks ago with an injury. They called up Alexander Canario to fill in his spot. But at the same time, that wasn't really helping him, because you look at Suzuki, he was doing really, really well this season. You look at his weighted runs created plus, of course, he had a 151. He was doing really well with the offensive value as well, .5 WAR. he looked like he was due for a little regression with his BABIP being almost at 400. Now, I want to explain just BABIP a little bit. I know some people on here don't know. I just want to make it a little quicker about it, a little like refresher about it. So if you don't know, I'm sure a lot of people do know, but if you don't know, BABIP is batting average on balls in play. Basically, that means whenever you hit a ball in play, a ground ball, fly ball, something like that, it's your batting average. It's how much you get on. So if your BABIP is high, like say Suzuki's is at 400, it means that you're probably getting a little lucky because Suzuki's probably hitting some ground balls and someone's probably making an error on them or not making the correct play, and he's getting on base. So that probably won't happen all the time, and it's probably going, I think an average one is probably around 200, 220, something like that. 220 to 250, I'd say, is around average. So if it's a little higher than that, or it's just at an insane number like Suzuki says, you are due for a little bit of regression. Players are going to start making plays again. You're not going to get as lucky. So I think that's just what I wanted to give a little refresher on that in case you didn't know. But yeah, that is what it's about for Suzuki. But again, I still think he's one of the best. He's one of the best players on this Cubs team, and has just been really, really good since coming over from Japan. Suzuki has been a really, really great signing for them. Can hit really well, has really good defensive versatility. Just an overall great player for this Cubs team, and is someone that I'm looking forward to watching throughout his future. I think him and Imanaga have really attracted a new type of fan base to Chicago. Of course, there was always an Asian fan base to Chicago. I mean, they live in Chicago. It's Chicago, Illinois. It's a very diverse place, a place with a lot of people, but it's not LA, it's not New York, it's not one of those, so I think getting international players like the Cubs have, they've done a really good job with that, and Suzuki has been really, really good, and he adds a whole new market there. So with Suzuki, he's just been a really great player for the Cubs, and getting him back in this lineup is a really, really good thing for them. Alexander Canario was not exactly cutting it. He was doing okay, but wasn't really doing that amazing. You look at Canario, he was doing solid, but again, looked like he was doing for heavy regression, was getting pretty lucky. So I still think he could be a good player in the future, just I don't know if he's ready yet. For Suzuki, he's done a really, really good job and been a really, really good player. So with him, I think he has been one of the best Cubs players on this team. And I'm excited for the Cubs to get him back. He adds another dimension in that lineup that they were missing without him. So yeah, just really happy for him, really happy for Cubs fans to get to watch him again. And yeah, really excited to watch this Cubs lineup at full force. Suzuki, Bellinger, all the other guys in this lineup. I mean, they have a really great core. Miguel Amaya, Michael Busch, Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. Of course, those two up the middle make one of the best duos. Some other younger guys in the outfield as well. And Managa has really led that rotation. And looking at this Cubs team right now, I've mentioned it before, but they're looking scary. They have a really great rotation. You have Imanaga, who's done extraordinary. You have Jameson Taillon, who's had a really nice bounce-back season in his second year in Wrigleyville. You also have Justin Steele, a guy who had a breakout season last year, finished high in Cy Young voting, got hurt the first start of the season, but has come back, or is coming back soon, and is going to be a big part of that rotation. And I think going into the playoffs, when you have a rotation like the Cubs do, having guys like Imanaga, like Taillon, like Justin Steele, I think that really helps your team a lot, and it really does bring a different element to this rotation in this team altogether. Their bullpen is also really nice. Hector Neris is a good signing, but Alzolay is a good bullpen arm I like. So overall, I think this Cubs team has a lot going for them, and I think they've done a really, really good job. It is going to be a tough fight, as I said, they are in a really tough division. The NL Central, you have the young and upcoming Reds, who are a really good team. We're faced with some injuries, which is, I think, the reason they have not done as well as I expected, but I'm still high on them. I still think they are the best team in the NL Central when healthy, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with their injured players and when they do come back, if they do, and how much it will affect them. Also, you have the Brewers, who have done extraordinary and really have surprised a lot of people, including myself. I did not think the Brewers were going to do this well this season, but Freddie Peralta's been really good out of that rotation. The young hitters they've had have really done well, have really come in clutch. Jackson Chourio is a beast, so the NL Central is forming to get really, really interesting. I'm really excited to watch it, and yeah, just overall, very, very excited to see what happens with this NL Central and this Cubs team. Getting these guys back like Cody Bellinger, like Seiya Suzuki, is going to help this division a lot, is going to help this team a lot, and just overall, I'm really, really excited to watch these guys play. Again, I think the Cubs are doing really, really well, have outperformed a lot of the expectations I placed upon them. So yeah, just very interested to see what happens with this team, where they go from here, and how overall Suzuki and Bellinger and all the other guys are going to get back like Steele are going to help and affect their team. The NL's tough right now. I'd probably have them in the top 6, but there's a lot of teams you're facing. I mean, we obviously know of 4 teams that are going to make the playoffs, no doubt, which is going to be Braves, Dodgers, winner of the NL Central, and then probably Phillies. If the Cubs are winner of that NL Central, great. Obviously, they would make the 3rd seed, but if you're not, you have 2 wild card spots that are going to be affecting a lot of teams, including the team who doesn't win the NL Central, whatever team that is, out of the Reds, Cubs, Brewers, Pirates. I'm not mentioning the Cardinals at this point. You know why. You saw last segment. So you also have the Mets. You have the Nationals even, who might be there. Diamondbacks, Giants, Padres. So there's a lot of teams vying for 2 or 3 spots in this playoff picture. And I'm very excited to see what happens. I think the Cubs could potentially be very high there. It could be a very good team within this race. But we'll have to see, and we'll have to see how they do perform. So, yeah, excited to watch this Cubs team this year, especially now after these reinforcements about all the players that came back. So, yeah, just overall excited for this and excited to watch this team this year. So, yeah, we'll be moving into our 3rd segment, which is going to be talking about the Yankees-Astros game. It was a very interesting game. A lot of stuff happened, a lot of stuff that is going to affect the long-term and short-term of both these teams that I did want to talk about. I thought it was an interesting topic to see here. So, yeah, we'll be going over that. But first, we're going to a break, and we'll talk about it then. So, thank you, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our 3rd segment, which is going to talk about the Yankees-Astros and the game that happened yesterday, and just my overall thoughts on it, and just I think the impact it's going to have. I think that it was very, very interesting and showed a lot of things about both these teams, so I want to get into it. So the final score of this game was 10 Yankees and 3 Astros, so obviously the Yankees pretty much blew them out. The Astros did have some good offensive contributors. You had Kyle Tucker hitting his 10th home run of the year. Man, he is an absolute beast. I mean, he's so good. After that, for them, you did have guys like Trey Cabbage. He hit an RBI single to make it 10-3 in the top of the 9th, but at that point it was done. Now for the Yankees, which I really want to talk about, their offensive explosion was insane. You had Alex Verdugo hitting a home run. He also had an RBI single. Anthony Volpe hit a home run. Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run. And Volpe and John Birdie as well got some good RBIs in there. So looking at this Astros box score, you had the big thing I want to talk about here, which was Justin Verlander. He went 5 innings pitched, giving up 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 3 home runs, and now having a 4.43 ERA with 4 games started off the injured list. Now, when Verlander came off of the injured list, you were expecting him to be an immediate bolt for this Astros rotation, a guy who can immediately get in there and make this Astros rotation a lot better. And honestly, that's just not what he's done. You look at this Astros rotation, you look at how many injuries they have, look at how many guys were on the injured list, are waiting there, have not done great this season as well. And you were really hoping Verlander would be that guy to come in, settle everything down, get solidified there, and just become a really good pitcher again, and he just has not. And the Astros, I don't, again, want to be, Debbie Downer, but they're looking bad, and I don't know exactly what's going on with their future. You look at this rotation right now, you have so many injuries: Lance McCullers, Luis Garcia, you have Framber Valdez, Christian Javier, and you get Verlander back to be the ace of this rotation. Help some of the younger guys that are struggling, like a J.P. France, who just did get hurt himself, Hunter Brown, who's really been struggling. And Verlander just has not done that. He's not been doing very well. His stats so far this year are really bad, and he's not shown a lot to be happy for. And if you're an Astros fan who was expecting Verlander to come in there and be an immediate impact, this is really a disappointment. And I was as well. I was saying, okay, the Astros got off to a really bad start, but you got the OG in there in Verlander. You got the guy who knows what he's doing, can help this younger Astros rotation that has a lot of turnover because of injuries and people leaving and getting traded and all that. He can help everyone get set, figure out what to do, and kind of get this Astros team to be back where we know. That's not the case. I mean, you look at the Astros right now, you look at what their rotation is, you look at how unfortunate it has been, you look at them being last in the AL West by 8 games, behind the fourth-place Angels by a full game, how bad their offense has done, how bad their pitching has done. Just there's really not much to be excited about if you're an Astros fan. And I think there it goes, the lights again. Isn't that exciting, guys? With this Astros team, you were really expecting Verlander to come in there and just solidify things, but he has not, and he's really not done well. And you're looking at the rotation right now, again, like I said, guys like Hunter Brown, J.P. France, these guys who have not done well, just having Verlander perform like this is really hurting your team. And looking at the AL West right now, with teams like the Rangers, the defending world champions, the Mariners, A's who aren't even doing that bad, which is a crazy thing to say, it's looking bad for them. The pitching's looking rough. Guys like Alex Bregman on the offense are really underperforming. So I'd be worried right now if I'm an Astros fan. And if they don't do good this season, it's going to be very interesting to see how they approach things in the future. They have a lot of people who are close to being free agents. Kyle Tucker's a free agent in 2 years, so it's Framber Valdez. Justin Verlander's probably gone after this year. You just did sign Jose Altuve to a big contract extension, so he's probably not gone. But Josh Hader could potentially be a trade candidate even 1 year after coming back to the Astros organization. You could not re-sign Bregman. You could kind of go into a full rebuild, and it's just going to be interesting to watch this Astros franchise. I mean, we've kind of looked at them throughout these years as untouchable and unbreakable, but it might be the end of the road for them. And I think this game against the Yankees just signifies, how much things have changed. And Verlander doing this bad, really not helping the team out is, I think, the Astros' bad process coming back to bite them. Last year, you traded Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford for Verlander. Drew Gilbert has become a star in the Mets organization, and Ryan Clifford has also become one. Both these guys have become really solid prospects for Mets fans. They're looking forward to them being everyday players within a year or two. And the Astros are now stuck with a aging starting pitcher who has 1 year left in his contract, who's coming off major injury, who has not been good, and is on a bad team. So I think we could even look at Verlander as a trade candidate for this deadline if they wanted to. I know Dana Scott said that the Astros are not going to sell because this team is too good, but we'll have to see about that. So it's just very interesting what's going on with the Astros right now. It's one of the biggest storylines of this entire year, I'd say, how bad they are doing and how much they have underperformed. So yeah, watching them and just watching this team all together, seeing what does happen. So an unfortunate situation right now if you are an Astros fan, but it is what it is, and it is what's happening right now with them. So just that's the story with them right now, and I wanted to move on to the Yankees. Now, the Yankees, man, was that a great game for them. Obviously, they won 10-3, beat up on Verlander, who usually has their number, does really good against them. You had Verdugo swinging the bat really well, Stanton swinging really well, Volpe doing well, even John Birdie getting in there with an RBI. You had Luis Gil on the mound pitching really well, 6 innings pitched of 1 hit ball. Granted, he did give up that 1 hit was a home run, but still 6 innings for 1 hit for the Astros offense, that still is elite. I mean, that's pretty great for you guys. So I think there's a lot going right for the Yankees right now. Their pitching core has been doing really well. Gil has been a really encouraging guy. You have Stroman, who's done well back in his home of New York. You have, of course, Nestor Cortez, who hasn't been bad. You have some other guys in the rotation depth that I think are really valuable. Clayton Beeter is someone I'm watching for the future. Clark Schmidt as well. So I think there's a lot going right for the Yankees right now, especially in the rotation. And we're forgetting, we're not really not forgetting, but we got to remember that their best pitcher's coming back soon, Garrett Cole. When he comes back with what the pitching has done so far, I think there's a lot to like with this Yankees team. And it's the best they've looked in a long time. And I guess their offense is even better, honestly. You look at this right now, Anthony Volpe's done really well. Juan Soto has been an MVP candidate, the guy I picked for MVP preseason, so really hoping that he wins it for my sake. Aaron Judge has picked it up after a rough start. You have Alex Verdugo, who's done really great since coming to the Bronx. Giancarlo Stanton done really well. Not as good as you'd like him to do for the contract you're paying him and for him not playing any defense whatsoever, but still fine. Anthony Rizzo's done well. Gleyber Torres has sucked, but I don't know what's happening there. I think maybe he's just done with New York at this point. Jose Trevino's even been solid behind the plate, so is Austin Wells. So if you're a Yankees fan right now, I'd be pretty happy, and I'd be pretty excited about the future of this team and where it's going. So with them, I am excited to see where this does go, where this team does go, and yeah, just extremely interested to see what does happen with this team and overall what is going to transpire here. I notice there are a good amount of people watching on stream right now, so if you would like to ask a question, I'll be more than happy to answer it about baseball. So just put it in the chat below there. But going back to my segment here for the Yankees and Astros, I'm just very excited to watch these two teams progress throughout the season. I'm very excited to see that both these teams, not excited, I should say, but just very intrigued and interested that both these teams are going in an opposite direction. Astros are underperforming a lot and not doing well. Yankees are doing really, really well. And I think that it just shows the variety of their off seasons and what's going on with them now. The Astros didn't add much. They added Garrett Cole. They added Josh Hader, but that was it. The Yankees added Juan Soto. They added Marcus Stroman, traded for Trent Grisham as well in that Soto trade. So a lot was going right for them in this offseason. They did a really good job, and I think it's proven right now the big swing does work sometimes, and if you execute it correctly, you it really does help your team. You look at the guys they gave back to the Padres for Juan Soto. They have been underperforming and not doing that well. So, yeah, if I'm a Yankees fan right now, I'd be very excited about the future of this team, where it's going. And if I'm an Astros fan, I'd be kind of worried. Verlander's regressing. Hunter Brown has been horrible. Framber Valdez, he's on the injured list and is a free agent soon. J.P. France just got hurt a lot. Spencer Arrighetti is just disgustingly horrible. I don't know why he's still on this roster. Alex Bregman's a free agent soon. You have some good pieces there. Yes, some younger pieces like Chas McCormick, Jake Myers, Yainer Diaz, Jeremy Pena. But even some of those guys have been underperforming, not doing the greatest. So if I'm an Astros fan right now, I'm a little worried. I'm a little hurt about this team right now. Kind of paranoid about where this team is going to go and just what does happen here. So, definitely watching these two teams go in the future. It would be pretty funny if the Astros traded Verlander again. Not again, but if the Astros traded Verlander, he got traded again. He just got traded back to them, and I think it's a very realistic and likely possibility at this point that Verlander could be on the block come trade deadline time. I would love to see him with the Orioles. Just being selfish, they need a veteran pitcher, even though he isn't doing the best. He's from that area. They have the prospects to get him the Orioles, and I think it would just be a really fun storyline trying to get his hometown team to the World Series. Has won a World Series has won 2 World Series. Try to get a third for his hometown Orioles. Is from the DMV, so I think that would be a really fun storyline. So if Verlander does end up getting put on the trade block and does end up potentially getting traded, I would love to see him there, but that's just selfish for me. But yeah, I did want to talk about this Yankees-Astros game. I thought there was a lot kind of within it and just a lot that was very relevant to where these two teams are right now and where baseball is right now with these two competitive teams. So yeah, I want to talk about that. We're moving into our fourth and final segment, which is going to be talking about the division races. I saw this article on OB.com that I thought was really interesting about all the divisions ranked. So just like who's going to get first and that kind of storylines ranked. So I thought that was really interesting. It wasn't the biggest news day, so I thought it was appropriate to cover it. So yeah, I'll be going over that, and we'll go into our fourth and final segment. So stick around, and thank you so much, and bye.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth and final segment, which is going to be talking about the division races of baseball and just my personal rankings of them, how interesting they are and all that. I saw this article on MLB.com, and I thought it was a really interesting concept. Like I said before, it wasn't the greatest news day for baseball, so I kind of just want to talk about this, have a little fun segment, give a little hot takes, quote-unquote. Again, like I said in the last segment, I noticed a good amount of people are watching the stream today, a little bit more than usual. So if you do have a question about baseball that you would like me to answer, please put it in the chat. I'll be more than happy. We'll be going, we're going to go into our rankings here. I'm going to go from 6 to 1. So the first one, so number 6 on this list is no surprise. It is the NL West, the National League West. Now, is it a surprise that the NL West is here? No. Well, you may be asking, well, why is that not a surprise? There's some pretty good teams here. It's just because we all know who's going to win it, and it's going to be the Dodgers. The Dodgers are a historically great team. I've shown it consistently throughout this year. I had a whole segment on it about when they swept the Braves, one of the better teams in baseball as well. So, as much as there are a lot of great teams in this division, I mean, you have the Padres, you have the Giants, you have the Diamondbacks. Not going to mention the Rockies. They're bad. The thing is, none of them even come close to the Dodgers. I think when healthy, the Diamondbacks are a really great team and could potentially challenge them. I think they're the third best team in the National League, but they're not healthy, so I'm not going to really put them up to the test against the Dodgers here to say. So you look at the Dodgers team, I mean, they have so many superstars. Shohei Ohtani, Tyler Glasnow, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Will Smith even, Max Muncy, James Outman is becoming a star. There's a Walker Buehler's coming back. Bobby Miller's coming off the injured list. So there's a lot to like right now if you're a Dodgers fan. Of course, I think easily they have this division wrapped up. Again, a lot of great teams in this division. A lot of good storylines here, I'd say. Just I don't think it involves one with the with whoever is going to win this division. I think that it's pretty wrapped, and it's pretty much said and done with the Dodgers. Again, I think the Diamondbacks come close when they're healthy, but they're not. Eduardo Rodriguez is hurt. You have some other pitchers in rotation hurt, like Merrill Kelly. Some of your position player depth is getting thin a little bit as well. So I think the Giants and Padres as well are great teams, but they just don't come close to the masterclass of the Dodgers. The Rockies, no, obviously. So I think that overall, I think this division is pretty wrapped up for the Dodgers, and that's why I have them here at number 6 for interest. It's going to be interesting because you want to watch the Dodgers, but putting it in the grand scheme of the other ones when there's pretty close races, it's just not it. Number 2, I have the National League East. Now, it's a little bit in the same boat as the Dodgers, but a little bit less. I think we all know that the Braves are going to win this division, but this year it might change. We know the Braves are one of the best teams in the major leagues. They have had this division wrapped up for a couple of years now, but the Phillies are looking really, really good. They've done really, really well this year so far. They are currently in first place in the division as well. So as much as I am going to say, the Braves are doing really well, they're being one of the leaders of the entire major leagues, they have this division wrapped up, don't count out the Phillies. And, again, they've done really impressive so far. I really like what they've done. And I think that with them, it is going to be interesting to see if they can overtake the Braves. Now, they have already, of course, but Braves are actually 3 games behind, so it's not like it's some little lead. I want to make it clear that the Phillies are doing better. But I think that the Braves are going to figure it out at some point. They're going to get first in this division, and they are going to win it just because I do think they are a better team. Now, there are a lot of injuries here, mainly Spencer Strider, who's done really, really good. So I think there are some question marks here for the Braves and just this entire team. But I still think they're better than the Phillies. But the Phillies have done really well, so we'll have to see. Nationals, Mets, and the Marlins, obviously not going to win the division. Mets and Nationals could make the playoffs, Marlins obviously not. So that could potentially be there, but it's going to be interesting to see. But I think the Braves have this locked down, but not entirely, so that's why I did have them above the Dodgers here. I think the Phillies have an okay chance to win, but I still would lean the Braves. A question from the comments here: what do the Yankees need to do for the postseason, assuming they face the Orioles and then the Dodgers? So I think that's a fair assumption for if we believe the Yankees will go far. I just think their pitching has to perform. I think we've seen that a lot in the last few years with strong teams and them going out in the playoffs early because their pitching hasn't performed. We saw last year with the Dodgers winning a lot of games in the regular season, but getting embarrassed by at the time the lowly Diamondbacks, who were not doing really well, and they completely embarrassed them in national television because their pitching was bad, and they had guys like Lance Lynn making consistent starts. You had in the American League as well some teams that did not have the best starting pitching as well, and they lost pretty early. So I think for the Yankees, I think that it's just starting pitcher performing. Garrett Cole has to be Garrett Cole in the playoffs. I have no doubt that he will, but looking at the other guys, Marcus Stroman, Nestor Cortez, even guys like Clark Schmidt, Clayton Beeter, who might have to make some consistent starts and make some quality starts. How are they going to perform in the big lights of New York City against these really great teams, and how consistent are they going to pitch, and how well are they going to pitch in the playoffs? So I have no real doubts about the Yankees and their offense and what talent they have. But again, someone I didn't even mention, Carlos Rodon, who I should have. How are these less under-level guys of Cole going to perform in the playoffs? And I think really it's the pitching and how that performs and how it does go, against the Orioles, who are an electric offense, the Dodgers, who are an electric offense. So it's going to be interesting to see with this Yankees pitching staff and how it progresses in the future, especially when Garrett Cole does come back from injury. For the third one here I have for the division races, I think it is the AL West. Now, the AL West, I meant number 4. For the AL West, I think that it's an interesting division race. Just I'm not sure how interesting. The Astros obviously were the favorite preseason, but I would not say that's the case at this point. I would say it's probably the Rangers or Mariners. Both teams have question marks. The Mariners are a little low in hitting. The Rangers don't have the greatest pitching depth, so it is going to be interesting to see which team does end up getting on top here. The Astros could still win it. The A's, while they are doing well, I do not imagine the A's will win the AL West. I think if the A's won the AL West, it would be one of the most shocking events in the history of professional sports. So sorry, A's fans, for maybe being a little too harsh there, but that's just what I'm thinking. So I think that this race is really interesting. It just really is confusing. I would have the Rangers at the top right now. I think the Mariners are close. I'm not sure about the Astros again. I'm just not a big fan of what they're doing this year. I think it's a little too late at this point, and I think that the concerns people have about them are true, and just not a huge fan about what's going on with them this year. So I think it's an interesting one, but I didn't think it was so interesting where it would go over the other teams, over the other divisions I have. So, yeah, thinking the Rangers and the Mariners are favorite right now. If I had to choose one, I would pick the Rangers, but should be interesting, and will definitely be interested to see what happens. Going to the top 3 now. At 3, I have a division I'm really excited to see the outcome of. I may have had higher, but I have the NL Central. Now, the NL Central, there are no elite teams, but there's a lot of good teams, and that's why it makes for such an interesting race. You have the Cubs, who have a lot going for them right now with how well their starting pitching is performing, how well their hitting core is doing, and them being at first. The Brewers, who I thought would not be good this year, but have had a lot of good performance from their younger hitters, guys who have really outperformed expectations. That's why they're in first in this division right now. Their bullpen has done well, so that's another bright spot here. You're getting Devin Williams back soon, which should also help. So overall, if I am a Brewers fan, I would be excited and just really interested by the possibility of winning the division again. I think a lot of them thought their chances were gone after trading Corbin Burns and having Woodruff be out for the entire year, but they've done really, really well, and their hitting has been impressive. So them and the Cubs are two teams that they're vying for NL Central. The Reds are as well, who are a really young team that I had winning preseason. I think the injuries have affected them really, really hard, but I still think they're quality, so I could potentially see them winning. That's another team. Also, of course, you have the Pirates, who could win it, I guess. I don't think it's likely, but they have some things going for them right now, and they do have a good amount of young players, so it's possible. Cardinals, no, they're bad. They're really, really bad. Nothing much else to say there. So, I think the NL Central is going to be an interesting division to see. There's a lot of good teams here. No elite teams, just a lot of good teams, and a lot of teams that have enough of a chance to win that it makes it really interesting. So as a baseball fan, I'm very, very excited to watch this division and watch how it unfolds. I think all the three teams I mentioned have a really good chance of all winning. Pirates, maybe even. Cardinals, I doubt it, but they still have the talent too, so we'll have to see. But another really interesting division here. Usually I would have had this higher, but there's a lot of other great divisions and a lot of other races in this team. So, we'll have to see about that, and we'll see what does end up happening here. So, so next we are going to be having number 2 here for the AL Central. We are going to be doing that. I don't know what that was. Sorry. Number 2 here is going to be the AL Central. Now, the AL Central, I think, is the second most interesting division to watch in all of baseball. I really wanted to have it first, but at the same time, I just couldn't go over the division I have first, obviously, which we'll end up seeing. So, for the AL Central, there's a lot of great teams here. I mean, you have the Guardians, who are really doing well. I mean, have been the biggest surprise this entire year. Their hitting core has really, really been good, has really broken out a lot of players I didn't think were going to be a big part of their team. Have been doing really well. Their young pitching has come in clutch. Tanner Bybee's been really solid. They've been doing all this without their best pitcher in Shane Bieber, who is out for the year with Tommy John. So there's a lot going right for this Guardians team right now. They're in first, the surprise of the year. So many good young hitters. Josh Naylor has been doing really well. So they've been doing great. But after that, you have 3 other great teams in this division. You have the Tigers, who have been really good this year, added a lot this offseason, look to try to be competing finally, and it's paying off. I mean, Mark Canha has been a great addition. Jack Flaherty's been really solid. Their bullpen's been really good with all the additions they've added there, like guys like Andrew Chafin, Shelby Miller. So I think the Tigers team has a really good chance of winning this division, and it's just overall good. Royals, man, do I love the Royals. This pitching staff is truly incredible. I mean, 4 great starters in Brady Singer, Cole Reagans, Michael Wacha, and Seth Lugo. So they have a real chance to win it with how they've been performing and how much they've been surprising us. Also, you, of course, have the Twins, the team I had winning, the team I made a segment on yesterday, who was 15 out of 17 games yesterday. So who won 15 out of 17 games yesterday. So obviously doing really well there. So I think right now the AL Central is going to be very, very fascinating to watch. I have it at number 2 for most interesting. I think any of the 4 teams I mentioned could win it. I'd still lean right now the Twins winning it just because of the talent they have, the experience they have. Yes, the Guardians are doing really well, but I'd still would lean the Twins. I think they're an extraordinary team and one of the best teams in the AL. They got hit with some injury bugs, but now that everyone's come back a little bit, I think that they've done really strong, and I'm really excited to watch them. And I do think they'll win it, but I think it'll be close with the other teams here. The final one, of course, is going to be the number 1 spot, the most interesting division to follow. It's, of course, the AL East. I mean, this 2-man race between the Orioles and Yankees should be one for the ages. 2 truly elite teams, 2 teams that are going to be elite for years to come, have big-name players on both sides, are back and forth, have already done great in their divisions, in their series against each other. So I'm really, really excited to watch the AL East come forward. The Orioles and Yankees, it's those 2 teams fighting for 1 spot. Arguably the 2 best teams in the entire league fighting for 1 spot for the division. It's a shame that one of these teams is going to have to be the 4 seed for the playoffs and play on the road, but it is the situation here. So I'm so excited to watch the AL East division race unfold. The Blue Jays and Rays, while they're good teams, same with the Red Sox as well, they're not on the same level as these two. They could make the playoffs potentially, but they're just not on the same level to win the division. So yeah, really, really excited to watch this and really excited to see it unfold. So, all right, that was our show for today, guys. I want to thank you so much for watching. We invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram for more content and updates. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell to not only get notified when I upload, but all the other great content creators on this channel do. So again, thank you so much for watching. It's a great day outside. Enjoy it, and we'll see you at baseball throws us tomorrow. Thanks, guys, and bye.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.